Why would she change the password? After 8 years of marriage, 8 years of sharing everything, my wife Sarah changed her phone password. I stood there in our kitchen, the morning light hitting the cold granite countertop, her phone inert in my hand. I just picked it up to check the weather, a simple, thoughtless act I'd done 1,000 times. But this time the familiar swipe pattern was rejected. Incorrect pattern, the screen mocked. A cold dread, sharp and sudden, pierced through my morning coffee haze. What was she hiding? If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The password change was the first crack in the dam. Looking back, the signs were all there, like tiny insidious weeds growing through the pavement of our life. It started subtly. Sarah, once the most punctual person I knew, started coming home late from her job at the marketing firm downtown. Traffic on the Kennedy was a nightmare, she'd say, tossing her keys on the counter, avoiding my eyes. Or had to stay late for a last-minute project with a client. One of those clients was named Mark. His name started popping up more and more. Mark thinks we should pivot our queue for strategy. Mark and I grabbed lunch to brainstorm. Mark. One evening, we were supposed to attend a gallery opening in the West Loop for my architectural firm. It was a big night for me. My project was being featured. An hour before we were due to leave, she called, "Hey, honey, I'm so sorry, I'm swamped. Mark and I are pulling an all-nighter to get this proposal ready for the morning." "Go ahead, have fun for both of us." I went alone. The colleagues offered condolences, their pitying glances feeling like tiny daggers. I stood by my display, a glass of cheap champagne in my hand, feeling like the world's biggest fool. My own wife couldn't be bothered to show up for one of my proudest moments. Humiliation burned hot in my chest. Her phone, once left casually on the coffee table, was now her constant companion. It was face down on the nightstand, clutched in her hand as she walked from room to room, and even went into the bathroom with her. The notifications were silenced, but the screen would flash, casting a brief, secretive glow on her face. That's when I started looking. I didn't want to be that guy, the snooping husband, but the not knowing was eating me alive. I started with the shared credit card statement, a charge for 2 at a fancy Italian place, Gibson's Italia. On a Tuesday, she claimed she was working late. Another for a hotel bar near O'Hare, a place we'd never been. Then, a receipt I found tucked in her coat pocket from a jewelry store on Michigan Avenue, a delicate silver bracelet. A bracelet I had never seen her wear, and I tried to talk to her, to bridge the growing chasm between us. She turned cold. "Why are you so insecure all of a sudden?" she'd snap, her voice laced with an irritation that felt rehearsed. "Toast. Can't you support my career?" She twisted my concern into a cage, making me the villain for questioning her. She was a master manipulator, painting me as a controlling, jealous husband while she played the role of the ambitious, misunderstood wife. She and Mark became a team, not just at work, but in their condescension towards me. I saw him once when I dropped by her office to surprise her with lunch. He was leaning against her desk, laughing, his hand resting casually on her arm. He gave me a smug, dismissive look, a look that said, "I have what's yours, and there's nothing you can do about it." They seemed so untouchable, so wrapped up in their own world. The breaking point came one rainy Saturday. She said she was going to a yoga retreat for the weekend to distress. I found the confirmation email in the trash folder of our shared computer. It wasn't a yoga retreat, it was a 2-night stay at a boutique hotel in Lincoln Park. For 2 guests, I sank to the floor of my home office, the printout trembling in my hands. The man I was, the trusting, loving husband, shattered into a million pieces. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest that made it hard to breathe. I cried not just for the betrayal, but for the death of the future I thought we had, for the woman I thought I knew. But as the tears dried, something else took root. A cold, hard resolve. The breakdown was over. It was time for strategy. I didn't confront her. Instead, I became a ghost in my own marriage. I documented everything. I hired a private investigator who confirmed my worst fears with higher-resolution photos of Sarah and Mark kissing. Outside that Lincoln Park hotel, him clasping the very silver bracelet I'd seen on the receipt. I made copies of the credit card statements, the hotel bookings, and the PIS report. I contacted a divorce lawyer, one of the best sharks in Chicago. We planned every step. The trap was set for her company's annual awards gala, a massive event at the Drake Hotel. Sarah was up for a major promotion, a vice president role she'd been working towards for years. Mark, her boss, would be the one presenting it. She looked radiant that night, in a stunning emerald dress, oblivious. She was on top of the world. As Mark took the stage and began his glowing introduction, talking about integrity and dedication, a silent signal was given. My lawyer had already served her company's board and HR department with a formal complaint of an inappropriate relationship between a supervisor and his subordinate, complete with the entire dossier of evidence. Just as Mark was about to announce her name, the CEO of the company walked onto the stage, took the microphone, and calmly announced an internal review that would be postponing the promotion announcement. A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. At that exact moment, every senior executive in the room received an email. The subject line, "Evidence Portfolio." It contained the photos, the hotel receipts, the explicit text messages the PI had recovered. I watched from the back of the ballroom as Sarah's triumphant smile faltered. Her phone buzzed. Then the phone of the person next to her, and the next. One by one, heads turned, whispering. The smug look on Mark's face melted into pure panic. Sarah's face went white. She looked out into the sea of faces, faces that were now staring at her with disgust and contempt, and her eyes finally found mine. I held her gaze for a moment, my expression completely blank, and then I simply turned and walked out of the ballroom. Her life imploded. She was fired the next day for violating the company's code of conduct. Mark was fired too. The divorce was swift and brutal. The infidelity clause in our prenup left her with nothing. Her friends abandoned her. Her professional reputation was destroyed. She moved out of our beautiful brownstone on a gray, drizzly afternoon, her few belongings packed into cardboard boxes. I never saw her again. Sometimes I walk past the restaurants we used to love, or see a woman with her shade of blonde hair, and for a fleeting second the ghost of that pain returns. But it's distant now, like an echo in an empty room. I never did find out what her new password was. The end.